In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to factor any quadratic that's a polynomial of degree 2. And we're going to be using the AC method. Really, this is just a method that reorganizes and basically reverses the distributive property. So I'm going to actually start off by doing polynomial multiplication. So suppose we have something like 2x plus 3 times, let's say, x minus 5. So if I wanted to multiply these two, I would take this first polynomial and I would distribute it into the second. So that's going to give me x times 2x plus 3, and then minus 5, 2x plus 3. And then I'm going to go through another round of distributing. Distribute this x, distribute the minus 5. And I end up getting 2x squared plus 3x minus 10x minus 15. And then we could combine like terms and end up getting 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. And this would be our distributed and simplified polynomial in standard form. I'm just going to make a comment that this is standard form, which is that ax squared plus bx plus c. I have this polynomial in descending degree, right? And then up here, this is actually called factored form. Before we distribute and we have it written as a product. The reason it's called factored form is because it's written as a product. Right? I have this 2x plus 3 times x minus 5, so that's a product. Okay? So when we distribute, it takes us from factored form to standard form. If I factor it, and I'm going to use the AC method, it's going to take us from standard form to factored form. So we're going to reverse this process, right? I wanted to factor the polynomial 2x squared minus 7x minus 15 using the AC method. Now, when I'm talking about the AC method, I'm going to be referring to A, B, and C. And so I'm referring to the form of the polynomial where A is the coefficient of the x squared term, B is the coefficient of the x term, and C is the constant at the end, right? So 2 would be my A, negative 7 is my B, and negative 15 is my C. So the process of the AC method says take A times C, which for ours would be 2 times negative 15 gives us a negative 30, and take B, which is a negative 7. And so I'm going to try to find two numbers whose product gives me this negative 30 and whose sum gives me this negative 7. So I want product to be AC, and I want sum to be my B term. So we can think about the factors of 30, right? I have 1 and 30. I have 2 and 15. I have 3 and 10. I have 6 and 5. And so I'm wanting negative 30, so I can, mix and match these with one of them being negative, one of them being positive. And I'm trying to find a pairing that if I make one of them negative and one of them positive, so that I get the product is a negative 30, I want the sum of them to be my B term. Well, if I take 3 and 10, I know I can make a negative 7. So I take negative 10 and 3, that gives me a product of negative 30. And if I take negative 10 plus 3, that for sure gives me my negative 7. So when I find these two numbers, it tells me how I'm going to break up this bx term. I'm basically going to split this bx term. So I started with 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. And I'm going to break this minus 7x up into 3x and a minus 10x. And then I'm going to have this minus 15 and this 2x squared. Notice that if you were to simplify this polynomial, you would get back to the original, right? I'm basically just unsimplifying my bx term, so I'm just unsimplifying. I'm like uncombining like terms. And if you compare this to when I was distributing, we actually have the same exact piece right here, right? I have identical pieces, right? So you can probably, look up at this problem where we were distributing and think about, okay, what do we do with the next piece? Well, to go from this step to this step, we're going to factor out this x from my 2x squared and my 3x, right? So I'm going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to look at this 2x squared plus 3x, and I'm going to ask, what can I factor out? Well, there's no common factors apart from 1 of 2 and 3. And then with x squared and x, I can factor out an x. So I'm going to factor out an x. So I get 2x plus 3. And then I can look at this minus 10x and minus 15. And from there, I can factor out a minus 5, right? And then I end up getting 2x plus 3. And here's the magic of the AC method. We end up getting the same term right here, so now I can factor that out. So I factor out 2x plus 3, and then in the first term I'm just left with x, in the second term I'm left with a minus 5, and now here is my factored form, right? So this is my factored form. And above, we had started with our standard form.